it's about that point in Summerweed where I personally need the reminder that not all monsters want to eat me. In the traditional sense of the word.
Careful. I'm contagious. Ow. I think I'll turn up the heat in here.
Hey, hi, hello, welcome to my corner of the internet. My name is Fats. Before we even get into this video, I do need to go ahead and clarify something. I titled the video Monster Romance because I didn't want it taken down by YouTube. Every single one of, I think I have 20 recommendations. These main characters are getting their backs broken in half, every single one of them, multiple times over and in great detail. Every single book. If you thought any of these recommendations would have like closed door, gentle banter, censorship, and cuteness without an NSFW warning, you obviously don't know who the F I am. I do this ish for real. Like, I'm in here. The only thing that I will tell you, I personally don't really do accidental pregnancy. That's not a trope that I really go for. So I think I only have one accidental pregnancy in here. Everything else is just a jolly good backbreaking time. Strap in, grab some juice. Let's get disgusting. I will be censoring out any major words, but I did try to do my best to remember what makes certain tools special. And I do believe that while a lot of these are interconnected series, you can bounce around within any of these. You don't necessarily have to start from the beginning. They're not series that you need to go in order. You can just pick and choose based off of what your preferences are. Now is your last warning. Get the kids out of the room. Turn your volume down if you are at work. Let's lock in. I have organized this video between beginner, intermediate, and advanced monster romances. The way that these are sort of labeled is like I said, spice is included in all of them. However, the way that these monsters are presented or the story is presented has determined what category I've put it in. Let's begin it at beginner, and then we're going to make our way to advanced. I'm going to make sure to put different chapters down in case once you're done with beginner, you're like, woof, that's enough for me. I need to exit and come back in a month when I think I'm ready for intermediate. So chapters are down at the bottom if you want to maneuver that way. Let's get right into these recommendations. I do think that it does need to be said that a good monster romance that a lot of people discuss, that I do believe is a good gateway into this world, and it does need to be mentioned in the world of Monster Romance Masterclass, Ice Planet Barbarians. Why have I put this one in beginner? I would like to argue that the spice scenes aren't crazy weird. They're very vanilla. These spice scenes are very much missionary doggy. And then you're introducing an alien to the beautiful world that is eating your breakfast, eating your lunch and dinner. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I put Ice Planet Barbarians here. Also, the tool that the male is working with is your good averaged tool. The size queens don't even need to necessarily make their mark here. It is slightly above average just because these are 7-foot aliens, but you're not really getting into like big size queen tactics over here. What does make it special is that there is a bit of a vibrating knob on top of it. That is what's supposed to rock your world, change your life. There is, I think, up to 19 to 20 books in this series, and I do think it is still going. Hey.
Good boy. Good job.
I don't even remember where I was. My co-host decided to join me, so I've got distracted. So let's just keep it going. Ice Planet Barbarians, first one that I wanted to mention. In a very similar vein, but something that I enjoyed slightly more, is the Cowboy Colony Mail Order Brides by Ursa Dax. These are all a bit of a marriage of convenience. You do have a cowboy colony of aliens, which, if you know me, you know I love me a cowboy, you know I love me a monster. I would also like to say that the tool that these guys are working with is more tentacle-esque, not so much normal, which I personally find a little bit more exciting. We are not here to yuck anybody's yum. The reason that I put this one in beginner is that there are moments where it's just cute. Cinnamon roll. It's precious. These people getting to, not people, but like Alien and his mail order bride getting to know each other, the ways that they're working through their problems and getting to know their intimacies and showing each other that they like each other. It's cute. There's a cuteness element to this one that has me including it in the beginner category. But again, a lot of these aliens, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, normal mouth. Another reason that I have included it in beginner. But I would say that I smiled more during the Cowboy Colony Mail Order Brides series, because Ice Planet Barbarians, when I laughed or smiled, it's because the plot is ridiculous and the writing is not the best. I would laugh at the book, whereas Cowboy Colony Mail Order Brides, I was laughing and smiling with the book. From there, I have another series that does have a lot of cinnamon roll type of MMCs. The Prime Mating Agency, the series by Regine, Abel. The premise of this is essentially that there's a dating agency that has recently found out that human women are very compatible with a lot of different species of alien. And as space has expanded, there are a lot of alien colonies that are not doing the best. However, it is in everybody's best interest if these colonies grow and come to be a bit more amicable. They do that by introducing these assigned female brides. Part of the rules of this marriage is that they must consummate on the first day. So these books often get spicy immediately. These characters don't get to know each other until after spice has started happening. So while these books are very spice heavy, the reason I put this one in beginner is because I feel like the alien partner of all of these pairings is at their core just wanting somebody to love them, wanting to be accepted, wanting to be appreciated. So this is like a comfort series because you can kind of know how it's going to end. You're going to get an HEA with every single one of these books. The thing that makes each of these books more exciting, kind of, is that you're going to get a rudimentary sort of structuring of a different alien species every single time, which means every single book, every single alien has a different tool. Again, a comfort series, because you don't necessarily, like with Ice Planet Barbarians, you kind of know that what you're gonna get out of bedroom scenes. You kind of know. With Prime Mating Agency, it's like a surprise to find out what you're gonna get in the book. I wouldn't say anything was like horribly mind-blowing. If you read Monster Romance, I do feel like all of the tools that I saw were tools that I've seen elsewhere. For example, you have, I believe they're minotaurs. I believe they're minotaurs. You have minotaurs, you have Naga, you have a 4-armed, 4-legged, 4-eyed, double-pronged guy. You have, I believe, a merman in there. So a lot of them are things that you've seen before. They're just very quick. They're also not too long, very to the point, very comfort, very HEA, very turn your brain off type of reading. The writing isn't anything special, but you also get something a little bit different with every single FMC. Of these, I still would say of the marriage of convenience, Cowboy Colony Mail Order Brides has a special place in my heart for the cuteness element. The cuteness of that one is higher than Prime Mating. Prime Mating is just comfort predictability in a sense. after that, I do have Girls Weekend by C.M. Nacosta. Now, this is a series that actually functions as a series, not so much interconnected separate stories. And it begins with 3 elves who go to a nudist orc resort. The only thing that I would say about this one, the first book was a jolly good time. Book 2 was a decent time. Book 3 is hot, flaming garbage. You start disliking the characters to a degree, so I would say do this one, but don't do it with the commitment of an entire series. You do get orcs, you do get elves, and the author does do what she can to like add depth to these characters. However, the depth that she adds to these characters started making me dislike the characters. Read the first book, jolly good time. It's literally an orc nudist resort. It's spicy. Another series that I actually think has been taking Book Talk and BookTube by storm are the Mead Mishaps by Kimberly Lemming, I believe it is. These are a silly, goofy time. Every single one of these books has plot holes. They have odd pacing issues. However, the plot and story are meant to make you laugh. And there were moments where I did laugh. Hence why I put this in the beginning category. They are very spicy, but the actual story itself is there for entertainment value. The dialogue at points did feel a little bit corny, but I could overlook that because, again, I was there for a silly, goofy time. This is the only book that I can say that I've spoken about so far that got laugh out loud from me. If you want something very cozy, I would say go for Stay a Spell by Juliette Cross. This one, everybody felt very human in this one. 2 legs, 2 arms, 2 eyes, mouth with lips. Do you see what I'm saying? And the reason I kind of put this one as like really cozy and really cute is you don't have to worry about a 3rd act breakup with any of these. You just get to enjoy a silly little spicy romp of a time. If you want a bit more diversity in your monster romance and you're tired of everything feeling like the same hetero couple with special tools, I would recommend the Leviathan Fitness series because this is another brain off, silly little smutty time. However, you get MLM, you get big girl rep, you get a couple that's in their 50s and 60s, I believe, which was so adorable. And I would say that the Leviathan Fitness series really give me like a gentle misty eye teary feel because the romance was so dang cute in this one. Backs were broken, but there was so much cuteness within it. If you want something that reminds you of a good old-fashioned 2000s werewolf story, I would recommend the Tooth and Claw series by Heather Guerre. This revolves around a war between the werewolves and the vampires, a missing person, a murder series, but you oscillate in the books between werewolves and vampires. I would say that the story does move a bit slower. There is a mystery plot to a lot of it. And the author really does take her time wanting to actually build out that mystery and getting to the bottom of it. So this one is more of like I would say the story does matter for what you do go into it. So do this one in order. If you want cute and you really want some MLM time, go for The Goliaths of Wrestling by Mayne. I have brought up Mayne a couple of times now. She likes her monsters, she likes her smut, and her writing isn't terrible. She's always a good time. But The Goliaths of Wrestling is like, it's camp. This is an absolute camp series. Don't take it seriously. But the first book is the worst of them all. So if you read the first and you're like, I don't know if this is my jam, do the second book. I would say the first book does have its importance and it does do certain things. But if you don't know if you're sold, do the second. If you hate the second, give up completely on the series. But the second book does do better than what the first book was doing. I think the author was just sort of dipping her toes into camp and she didn't know quite how to really bring in that sense of humor. She really got her feet underneath her going forward. those are all of my beginner books. Now, we're about to get into the intermediate books. I would like to say that a big part of what helped me determine beginner to intermediate was really like the intensity and descriptive element of our smut. Also, the intensity of our monster. A lot of my beginner monsters do have a sort of human feel, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes. They can talk to you. We're about to slowly get further and further away from that. I'm also going to bring in some very different tropes into this. But first intermediate that I do want to bring up is the Monster Security Agency by Layla Faye. Now, this does have a little bit of the dark leanings. Our demons and monsters here are darker. They're not mean, they're not evil. They are bodyguard, if you like a bodyguard trope. But they are demons. They are demons. In the very first book, you have, what's that one movie? I'm going to put a clip up. This movie. Yeah. A little skull daddy. That's what you're getting in the first book. In the second book, you get a smoke demon that is very much like a biblical angel. I'm talking 9 eyes and 9 mouths that he does use. That one does have a bit more of a revenge plot. So that story, the second book revolves around a girl who was essayed. It's not on page, it's just referenced by some frat boys. And she hires this biblical evil angel guy to get back at those guys. And he says that once he gets them, he would love to take her soul as well at the end of all of this. In the third book of the series, you have a 2-tool wielding snake demon who I would like to say is really good at talking our FMC through it. And the third book is absolutely a size queen book. I wouldn't say that any of my beginner books are size queen books. I'm starting to give you books for our size queens here. And I really think this third book does it for the size queens. Clock in, strap up, stretch, get in here. Another series that I really think is a lot of fun, but also for the size queens, well, the first book is for the size queens anyways, is the Cambric Creek series. This one is absolutely disgusting, but cozy, because this whole interconnected series is really set up around like a cute little monster town where monsters don't necessarily have to feel different or ostracized, and they have their little safe space away from humans, like not away from humans, but they do have a place where most of them collect. Rent is a little bit higher, but they have like a tea shop, their favorite coffee shop. Cambric Creek is all interconnected around this small town, and it gives like southern town feels. The reason this is an intermediate is there is no plot outside of the fact that backs are getting broken. Like the very first story, we have a Minotaur milking farm because it was recently found out that milking a male Minotaur, that can be used to make Viagra. Huge multi-billion-dollar company. Our FMC is down on her luck, deep in debt from school, so she picks up a little job there. And she meets a guy there, and let me tell you, like, she begins to like him based off of the work. Like, they don't really talk the first time. There's no hiding why this book was written. However, the setting of it, they go on a little coffee, like there's a cuteness to the setting that makes this feel intermediate and not quite advanced. Now, another reason that I've put this one into intermediate but not quite beginner. First book is for my size queens because you have Minotaurs. Second book, we have a Mothman, which begins as a sort of consensual peeping Tom type of situation. Third book, we have werewolves. And fourth book, you have a Naga. Another story within this that I think is on the cusp of advanced, due to the darker themes and also our monster at hand, is you do have a shadow daddy. But let me tell you what makes that one so cool in my opinion and so cozy. The shadow daddy works at a little tea house. You go to the tea house and the shadow guy, gets to choose what you drink based off of your vibes, who you are, like what you give. He gives you your little tea. And it's so cute because it's just sort of this like invisible being that pushes a little tea cart, brings you your tea, and it's such a cozy, cute little setting. But this is probably the most advanced of the monsters in there because the not being able to see can take on any form. Another book for my size queens, I would say. There are some darker themes in this because our main character is dealing with quite a bit of depression, and they do talk that through and work that out. But it still has that cozy element, like that tea shop. That the way that tea shop was described was so cute. Highly recommend that one if you are ready for what I would say is cusping on more of an advanced monster interaction. All of these books are not, they're set in the same setting, but you can read them out of order. If you're not into the Minotaur milking farm and you just want a werewolf, go ahead and jump over to the werewolf. You're not missing anything. Some of these characters do happen to be friends, so you'll get a cameo, but you're not missing out on anything if you don't necessarily know who that cameo is. If you read all of them, it's really cute to see a cameo pop up. A trope you haven't seen from me yet is why choose /polyamory. I have a series for you that does bring that in, but still feels very respectful, very cute, and very cozy. It is the Monstrous Matches series by Lillian Lark. You have a matchmaking witch who runs a love bathhouse. And the way that the magic is sort of created and run is based off of the loving interactions of the patrons of this bathhouse. Now, the way that our witch makes a lot of her magic and gets a lot of her money is she will match you to somebody, use her magic to find your match. And then if your match is successful, your first major encounter will be within the bathhouse, and she will get to keep the magic that comes from that. It'll be a free bathhouse trip, and you just interact in that way. Now, your books. The first book is actually your matchmaking witch finding love. I thought it was so cute because she was insecure about being a matchmaker, but not having her own partner. So the first book was all about her being more in touch with her own vulnerabilities and finding somebody for herself. The partner that she finds is a kraken. Tentacles. Size queen activity. Next, you get gargoyles. Then you have basilisks, plural. The fourth book is a dragon. That one is going to be an accidental pregnancy trope. Not my favorite. Not my thing. But it's still a silly, goofy time. If you're okay with that trope, I don't like it. F them kids. And then the fifth book that you have in the monster matches is a demon/devil. The reason that this one is an intermediate and not so much beginner is that I would say with the introduction of gargoyles and basilisks, you are getting a much more intense interaction between characters. Now, a monster series that I recommend all the time is the Duskwalker Bride series by Opal, Reyne. Let me tell you how the first book is set up. You have Rhea, who is seen through the town as a harbinger of death. Her family was killed by monsters, and there are monsters that sort of just exist around the town's perimeter in the forest. Because she is just seen as this horrible symbol of death, she lives just outside of the town and on her own. Well, every decade, the town needs to give up a female sacrifice to a Duskwalker. This Duskwalker takes that woman, and she is never to be seen again. But he might not be all that he seems. The first book is my favorite. I was not crazy about the second book. Second book annoyed me. The third book and the fourth book, as you go forward, this is really good in my opinion. The reason I've put this one in intermediate is for a few different reasons. One, there's actually plot here. A world is actually built here. There's actually a story here. There's actually stuff happening in this book. You're not here just for a silly, goofy time. You do get lore. You do get backstory. You do get fights. You do get battle scenes. That's here. You do get a bad guy. That's all within this book. I've also labeled it as intermediate because our monster, while he does have human tendencies, like how he speaks, how he carries himself, how he builds a home, how he lives, very human. However, his face is a skull. His privates are retractable. He also has shadows. There's a lot about him that feels like a very intermediate monster. However, the way that he carries himself sort of softens the fact that that's a very intermediate to advanced guy. You see what I'm saying? As you continue, each of these monsters does get a little bit different. The first guy that you meet, I believe his name is Orpheus. I have such a soft spot for Orpheus. Second book, the reason I say I didn't really like that one is you have an accidental pregnancy in there, which annoyed the F out of me. The FMC was also deplorable. I just did not like her, and I really think that our monster deserved so much better because she was just kind of mean. Didn't really like that. But going forward, as you get to know them, they're all individuals. You get a different backstory to each. It's just, as somebody who hangs out in the monster romance genre, it was mind-blowing to me that I had a monster romance that built a world. Which is so embarrassing to say, because Ice Planet Barbarians builds a world, but kind of as a joke. But the Duskwalker Brides they're also fairly long books because stuff is actually happening. But the spice is definitely spicy. Take with that what you will. Is the story perfect? Are the plot holes not holing? No. This is monster romance. Not everything is perfect. It does enough and doesn't have holes to the point where I could still enjoy my plot. Another series that I would like to include in I have monsters, but I've also got a plot, is Luxuria by Colette, Rhodes. Now, this one is if you want plot, spice, shadows, demons, and enemies to lovers, because how this is set up is you have monsters and you have hunters. And oh my goodness, who would have known that they were sexually compatible? The only thing that made me actually fall off of Luxuria is the story that was built in my beginning books, right? With the world that was built, you have underworld, you have parallel universe travel, there's a lot happening. You have hunters, demons. By I believe it's the third or fourth book, you suddenly have a failed musician hunter and a demon general. It just hit a point where I was like, what are we doing? What do you mean we have a failed musician? It just kind of took me out of the story with what the author was doing. But the world and the story that I had at first, and then how it continues was great. It just felt like that. I don't know what was happening. I don't know if what the author was going through, if she like went through a breakup and just really wanted to write a failed musician. Didn't like it. Wasn't that crazy about it. But again, you have story, you have plot, you have backstory, you have characters that are actually charactering, you have a world that is actually worlding, and I don't know, you have stakes involved as well, which was actually pretty fun. If you enjoy the Monstrous Matches series, you remember the one that has the love bathhouse? I would say you would also possibly like A Deal with a Demon by Katee Robert. These are smutty little monster novellas, which works for and against, but let me tell you the premise before I tell you the negatives of this. These are very little plot, very high smut, and silly goofy. However, the fact that they're novellas does feel very insta-lovey, but they actually do span a space of time. For example, the first book actually did cover a month of time, but the fact that it was a novella just felt choppy. It felt a little odd. So turn your brain off for this if you want a quick monster smut. In the Deal with the Demon series, you have dragons, kraken, gargoyles. And I do want to shout out the gargoyle dynamic because you get a little bit of dom sub, where our male gargoyle is our sub. It was a fun little time if you want some dom sub. I don't think I've read any other good dom sub monster romances, but if you want that, read the gargoyle book in the Deal with the Demon series. It's just ignore the fact that the author really does everything she can to cram like character development, relationship development all into a tiny little novella. If you ignore how odd the novella aspect of it is, it's a silly, goofy, smutty time. To the point. We are here to get naked. Despite what the author tries to set up in a plot, they are here to get naked. I have two more in my intermediate category before we go ahead and step into the advanced category. First, I would like to say the Deep Waters series by Emma Hamm. This is set up in which there is an underwater city that is built by humans. However, it's very colonizer into the ocean, coming upon the natives there that are mermen. But they have a different name. Can't remember what it is. My bad. What makes this intermediate is, again, you have full plot. You have story building, which sometimes the story building, I was like, can we get naked already? You know, like this one you do also get some like captive, captor, forced proximity. You get some of that. But I like this story so much, but I just wanted them to hurry up and kiss. But I think that's because so much of it was you have to build up from the fact that you have colonizer, captor. Like there's so many elements to these two not understanding each other. You have language barrier. There's so much built into them not coming together that it does take you a second to get to that. I'm going to warn you because I was reading this book and I could barely focus on the plot because everybody had their clothes on for so long. But I'm the problem here. I'm too freaked out. Excuse me. So just so you know, it is a good time. The stories are fun. The characters are pretty developed for a monster romance. And there is plot to this. But just know that there's plot. There's definitely plot. Another story that I do want to bring up is the Naga Bride series by Naomi Lucas. You are on post-apocalyptic Earth. And disease and war has absolutely ravaged the Earth to the point that humans have actually left. Due to all of that has happened, due to all the bombing and chemicals in the air, Nagas have come into existence. Well, the humans need some technology, so they send a little crew of people down to the planet. And the Nagas smell human woman pheromones. And who would have guessed it? They're compatible. I feel like that's such a big thing in all the monster romances. It's like, we won't be compatible. And then it's like, wow, why are humans compatible with all monsters? What? I can't believe it. How lucky are we? Every single monster romance. I don't care. I eat it up every time. But in that, once these human women come down, the Naga species actually has no women left. So they're like, if we have to fight to the death for these women, we'll fight to the effing death. So this one is intermediate because the mindset of these guys is pretty alien. There's very different cultures from alien to human. And also the convincing of these women to be down with the get down isn't as readily excited as some of the beginner books. The convincing that I really want to participate in a snake man takes a second. Let's get to advanced. All right, we're here. We've made it to advanced monster romances. Now, in these books, I'm trying to warn you now, these are the most smutty in a very descriptive kind of way. We're hitting more advanced tropes, and some of my monsters are the most monster-esque of all, if you are ready for that. First, get in my swamp. I had to bring it up. This is a captive romance, and this woman is quite literally kept in a cage after she accidentally trespassed on this this ogre's swamp. And it's truly captive. Like I said, she is in a cage through this. Check the triggers on this one. But it's dastardly. This is a very dastardly book. If you want a absolutely silly time in the audiobook. No, I'm not going to spoil that for you. Get the audiobook. Just do it. Now, when I talk monsters that are monsters, I have two advanced stories for you. One is the Erudian Test Subjects by Susan Trombley. The writing of this isn't mind-blowingly great. Sometimes she doesn't know how to use a comma. Let her live. She was on a mission. These monsters are scorpions. But the reason I've put this one in advanced is these are aliens. These are aliens. They can't understand. They have certain mating techniques. They are a scorpion. There is a language barrier. Like, this is a full-blown alien scorpion. And I do think that you need to approach this knowing that. And I would say that he's very barbaric. Like, this is alien. Except the way this is set up is it's two books, but it's one story. The author just broke it up into two. So it begins with you're in a spaceship in which our characters have been abducted to be used for scientific testing. In one cell, you have our female woman, and then in the other cell, you have our scorpion alien. Both of them are being used for testing. But who would have known that they are compatible? But again, alien. Like, this is full-blown alien. When you read this, put it out your mind. How did this woman come to be ready for what's happening? You just put that out your mind. I questioned it. I don't know if I'm prepared for advanced monster romances. I did some research for y'all. I personally don't know if I'm cut out for this lifestyle, because I was reading this and I was like, this is a scorpion. He's dangerous. It's got venom. And you like this? Ew. Another monster is if you have the Spider's Mate by Tiffany Roberts. You have crash landed on an alien planet inhabited by 9-foot tall spider people. There are mandibles. So like kissing is near impossible due to the mandibles. You've got multiple eyes. You've got all these legs. There is like a top half of his body that is semi, maybe kind of, sort of, almost human. But this is a spider. You've got a spider warrior who is the main hunter and sort of lives on the fringes of the community. This series also has some plot. It has some other characters. You have some story building. And you've got a spider. Again, you have very much this element of an inability to communicate. This is an alien. And who would have known that? They're compatible. Now, the most advanced that I have left for you is the Tempting Monsters series by Kathryn Moon. This one begins with a Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. And this is 400 pages of stuffing your Thanksgiving turkey. This is 400 pages of plotless smut. You will have smut scene, couple pages, scene. Like, this is just nakedness. That is it. You maybe kind of sort of have a character here and there, but let me also tell you why this is advanced. And I'll tell you it by giving you the plot of the second book in the series. You have Hazel, who is a human nymph, who is the longest working performer at a company. However, for fear of heartbreak, she hasn't let anybody truly get close to her. Then you meet Hunter, a gentle dom orc. You have Ronan, a playful imp. Are you seeing where this is going? In order to not get this video taken down, I'm not going to connect the dots for you, but let me just keep listing these people off. Hunter, gentle dom orc. Ronan, playful imp. Nereus, a 6-handed giant that is just gruff but has a cinnamon roll crush on Hazel. Constantine, a mysterious demon with a secret. And Jude, a detective that's on the hunt for some missing girls that gets wrapped up in this entanglement of bodies. Lady of Rooksgrave Manor is a woman that just so happens to come upon a home with lots of inhabitants. And it is long. These books are not short. You are here for a purpose, and that author is just here to give you that for all intents and purposes. That is all I have for you. Do you have anything to say to the people? That's him saying thank you for hanging out, and thank you for tuning in. I'm gonna see you next week for monsters that want to eat us in a traditional sense.